In this video, we're going to start writing our first tic-tac-toe game based on multi-dimensional arrays. Now, this is going to work because if we think about tic-tac-toe, it is nothing but a grid. And my grid is containing three subarrays. And if I look at those subarrays, each one of them is going to contain three elements. So I can easily write it down as a two-dimensional array. Let me call it G for grid, and this is going to be nothing but three subarrays. Now in my first subarray I will have 1, 2, and 3, and which is going to be represented like 1, comma 2, comma 3, and the second subarray is going to start from 4, followed by 5 and 6, and the third one is 7, 8, and 9. So I can continue the same thing here, 4, 5, and 6, and then another subarray containing 7, comma 8, comma 9. So this should be my grid. Now what else do I need in my tic-tac-toe game? So I need a couple more things. I need to be able to take this out and place an X or an O in its place based on whose turn is it. So I need something to tell me, is it the turn of player X or player O? The easiest way to do this is to have a boolean. So I will set my boolean to true or false based on whose turn is it. What else do I need? I will need to basically check for a winner, right? So if I get all x's in here or in any row or column or diagonal, same thing goes for O, then I need to declare a winner. Another case that we have is if we fill the whole thing but there is no winner, so this is basically a draw case, right? So when will a draw case be there? So if I consume all of those places, and then at the end I don't have any winning streak or basically winning pattern. So I can have something to count for me on how many cells did I use. Okay. So let's start by first being able to create this and being able to print this part of our game. So let's go back to Eclipse and we will start a new class. Let me call it Tic Tac Toe. And I will obviously need a main method in here to be able to run my project. Now, remember when we talked about variable scoping, I need some variables to be accessible from the main method and from other methods that I will create. Because remember, for those parts of the tic-tac-toe, like checking the winner, checking if I have a draw situation, checking if one of the cells is already used, then I don't use it again. All of those can be easier accomplished if we use methods because it's going to be the same code, but instead of copying the same code every single time, I can just call my method to perform that for me. So first variable that I will need is basically a boolean to tell me whose turn is the current turn, so I can be able to basically replace it with an X or replace it with a Y. So I will define a boolean, and let me call my boolean turn to tell me whose turn is it, and I will set it to true at the beginning. So whenever my boolean is true, it is basically player X turn, and when it's false, then it's player O turn. Again, we talked about counting how many times did we change the cells. So if I change the cells 9 times and there is still no winner, then the game is a draw and I need to reset the board. So what I will do again is basically declare another variable because I want to be able to use it from multiple methods, and this is going to be an integer, and I will set it to 0. Let me call it count and set it to 0 at the beginning because when I start the game I didn't count anything and nobody played yet. I will also have a boolean to tell me whether I have a winner or not, and this is going to become in handy because if my count is 9 and I don't have a winner, that means the game ended with a draw. So winner is equal to false because when I start my game I should have no winner at all. Okay, so public static boolean winner is equal to false. So those are my variables for right now, and what I need to do is basically create a grid. Now we know that Tic Tac Toe is going to have numbers, but is it a good thing to have it only accept numbers? Because eventually we want to basically display X and O. So our best bet is to go with characters because the numbers can be represented as characters and the letters can also be represented as characters. So what I will do here is I will just start with a character array or multi-dimensional array, and this is going to be called grid, which is where I will store my values. And now I can start filling this with my subarrays, starting with all my numbers. Now keep in mind those are characters, so I'll have to have them basically placed in single quotes. So 1, 2, and 3, followed by 4, 5, and 6, followed by 7, 8, and 9. And this needs to be a character as well. Now this is my grid right now. I need to print my grid, right? And let me just print a message here or something to just greet my user, something like welcome to my game or tic-tac-toe game or whatever message you want to display here when the user just runs your game. Now what I need to do is, first thing I need to print my grid. Now keep in mind I will keep printing this grid every time something changes, so it is easier for me to basically write a method that is going to print my grid for me. So I'll go outside my main method and let me declare a method for printing the board or the grid. Okay, and this is not returning anything, it's just printing, so it is going to be void. So public static void, and let me call this print. So it is going to take a character multi-dimensional array, and let me call it ARR. Okay, and then inside this it's going to be the same thing we did previously for printing a multi-dimensional array, but this time what we need to do is we'll include a little bit of formatting to make it look like a tic-tac-toe board. So I will start with printing out something on the top, so it is the line or the border on the top. So it is going to be some just dashes, and we can always adjust those to have the number of dashes that we want. We will do this if it needs some adaptation. So what I'll do is I'll have a for loop that is going to iterate over my array, and then another for loop inside it that is going to iterate over each subarray in my array. So each ARR of I. And right here I can start printing. So what I want to print is basically the array followed by some kind of a separator line. So sys out, and then I want to print my element, which is arr at inj, and after this I need to print some kind of line separation, or basically character separation. So space, and then bar, and then another space. Okay, now if I have this, it is going to start without any bar separation, and I need this bar separation only once per array. So what I need to do is I will not include the beginning one in my inner loop, but I'll need to include it in my outer loop. And this is going to basically be the separator that comes before the numbers in my grid. So what I'll need to do basically is just system.out.print, and I will start with my separator character followed by a space just for formatting. Now in here I need to make sure that I'm printing on the same line, and this needs to be on the same line as well, because I want to start printing this and then print all my elements in the same line, and once I print the last wall of my board, I need to jump to the next line. And where do I jump to the next line? Whenever I'm done with the inner loop. So I don't want to include it in here because it's going to jump to the next line every single time. Once I print one of my inner arrays, then I will jump to a next line. And what I need to do here is just another print statement that is not going to print anything. And then I need to have my bottom border at the end. So I need to have my bottom border at every iteration. So let's test this out, and then we'll try to adapt if we need some kind of adaptation for the print. So let me just say print, and in my print statement I will provide it with my grid, and save this, and let's give it a test run. And now we just need a couple more dashes here, maybe 2 of them and 2 of them in here. And I believe if we just have a space in the beginning and take this out, a space in the beginning and take this out, it may look a little bit better. So let's save this and try to run it back again, and this looks more like a board. You can play with it more to make it look better, which is what I'm doing right now. So this looks more like it. So I have my board printed, and this is the first step of our tic-tac-toe game.